Hi. Hi. My name is Victoria Kolesnik. I am MM Publications LT consultant for linguist company in Ukraine. I would like to welcome you to today's webinar. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I can see more people are coming. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes to let everybody join our webinar. Tell me, please, where are you from? Kherson, hello. Черкаси, Kyiv. Nice to see you here. Луцьк, Вінниця. Ага, Житомир, Полтава. Yeah. Полтава region, Дніпро. Donetsk region. Hello. Харків. Одеса. Херсон again. Hi. Луцьк. Черкаси region. Hi, nice to see you here. Hello from Kyiv. Kyiv again. Dnipro. Hello from Poltava. Okay, so lots of people are joining. And before we start, here goes a heartfelt thanks from our linguist team, our publishing house, for having chosen Smart Junior updated edition for the first graders. We are grateful for the trust you've placed in us. We are working on different additional materials, interactive materials that facilitate online learning and teaching. And we are always excited to hear your feedback. And we welcome you to reach out with any questions or concerns that you may have. And I'm glad to be at your service and provide you with the methodological support. So today we are talking about supporting speaking in English, peer and group work. Speaking skill is very important for students in communicating effectively through spoken language. The inability of students in speaking English can cause them difficulties in expressing their ideas, even in simple conversations. So students may need to speak English in all kinds of situations in their lives. And in order to be fluent and confident, they need to practice. However, many students don't have enough opportunities to do this. And the only place where they can practice speaking English is in their classes. This means that you need to create opportunities to speak English for real purposes, so that students use the language to communicate with you and with each other. You need to find the best way to make students feel safe and comfortable in practicing their speaking skills. And you may be thinking that it is difficult to give all your students the opportunity to speak in class, especially if you have a large number of students. One way that you can give all of your students the chance to speak is by organizing them into pairs or small groups to talk with each other. So students have to take into account that while they are speaking English with others, they see their own mistakes and learn from others. However, it takes time and it won't happen overnight. Students need to invest time and energy into practice and not be afraid of making mistakes. And remember that mistakes are part of the process. Involving students in speaking activities through pair and group work is a good way to promote their speaking skills. And today we are talking about challenges and fears. Most students face some challenges when they try to speak the English language. They can feel uncomfortable speaking in front of the class. They get nervous and feel stressed. They try to avoid this kind of activity or just reply using yes/no answers. But if they want to master the English language, they need to learn from their mistakes and overcome their fear. So teachers should motivate and inspire students to believe in themselves and provide with the opportunity to speak English as much as possible. And there has been a serious, major shift towards the communicative approach and student-centered learning in education, reducing the amount of teacher talking time. And that's exactly one of the great reasons to use pair and group work in the classroom. It gives students more opportunities to speak and practice what they have learned. Working in pairs and small groups can improve learning and help students become more successful. In this way, students are more involved in the learning process as the usual pace of the lesson changes with students becoming the focus of attention. So this allows teachers to have more time to observe and move around the classroom with the aim of monitoring the students' work. When you split students into groups, you help them to lead and be led, which are vital skills in life. So they interact with their classmates, ask questions about their content, apply acquired knowledge in new circumstances. But at the same time, we need to keep in mind that pair and group activities take up a lion's share of time in many lessons. Plus, if your class is like any other class, you probably have students of mixed abilities and levels. And sometimes it is challenging to organize peer and group work. We, as teachers, can fall in some traps, so we'll pay attention to the tips for effective peer and group work. We are going to talk about the textbook Full Plus Plus for Ukraine. We'll look through the pages, its structure, activities. We'll look inside of the book in order to get acquainted with it. If you are going to work with the 6th graders, this information will be of great use for you. And at the end of the webinar, we've got questions and answers session, so you can type the question, or you can also see my contact information, so you may write me using my email. But before we start, I would like to remind you about the certificates. You will receive your certificate within 3 working days. I ask you to check your email as well as your junk box. But if you don't see your certificate in your email, please contact me, and I will help you to solve this issue. So there are some challenges and fears faced by the students, such as fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged, lack of vocabulary. You can also plus shyness, anxiety, lack of confidence. What do we understand by fear? Fear arises when we are exposed to something that we don't like, and we are vulnerable to it. In this case, the fear is of being vulnerable to criticism from others, or trying to communicate in a foreign language. Students are reluctant to speak. Many students seem reluctant to speak freely or at all because they are afraid of making mistakes. The students are afraid of making mistakes speaking the English language. They think their classmates will laugh at them, or they just don't want to look silly in front of their classmates, or even being criticized in the classroom. The fear of making mistakes results in failure in speaking English. And here it is important to remind students that making mistakes is a normal thing. No one is born perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. But students should learn from their mistakes and overcome them. Then, the fear of being judged is usually present as well. Most of the students are afraid of being judged. It is the same thing with the foreign language, because students often think that others judge them for grammar or pronunciation mistakes. And here I would like to share my personal experience. I like sharing stories with you. So when I was a first-year student at university, we were asked to learn the poem by heart and recite it in front of the group. So the students had to listen to the audio multiple times and try to imitate the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation, the fluency, in order to sound very similar to the native speaker on the audio tape. And you need to know that it was long ago. We didn't have the opportunity to listen and practice at home. So I learned the poem, and I was not feeling anxious or nervous or something of the kind. So it was my turn to recite the poem. And when I was on the second line or so, the groupmate who was sitting in front of me started shaking her head, like showing me that, that's no, that's definitely no. Was it something that I would like to see? Definitely no. I didn't need her approval at that moment, but at the same time, I was disappointed. And the only thing I wanted to do was to end it very quickly, not paying attention to the main task. So you see, we are vulnerable to some extent. We need to pay attention to our movements and gestures because students can interpret them differently. The fear of not being understood is very common among students. They are afraid to speak in public, trying to explain something, and not being understood by the classmates. And this fear can cause them to feel like their English is not good enough. And due to the fact, they lose confidence in themselves. In addition, this happens due to the limited vocabulary that some students have, or the difficulty of organizing ideas and expressing them in a way that everyone can understand. Not being able to find the exact words to express ideas is a frustrating experience when speaking English. So most students do not practice their vocabulary enough. And this has as a consequence that they cannot remember it properly when speaking, and are unable to communicate, to share their ideas in a clear and understandable way. For this reason, some students avoid speaking in class or prefer not to participate in any speech-related activity. And motivation is what pushes a learner to learn. Motivation is an important reason for the development of the ability to speak English. If a student does not feel motivated to speak or learn, he will not be able to improve this ability. Students feel bored in speaking English because they have difficulty in remembering and pronouncing words. Sometimes teachers can see that some of the students are very motivated. Others lack of that motivation to study English. And peer and group work offer a safer place, a safer environment for students to try out their speaking, because fewer people hear them, but all students have opportunities to speak and listen. This enables students to develop confidence in their speaking English. Peer work and group work are tried and true classroom techniques. So what types of speaking activities do your students like? Please type in the chat box. What types of speaking activities do they like? Role plays, and dialogues, yeah, dialogues, unprepared speech, answering questions, giving advice, discussions, interview, dialogues, acting out dialogues, discussing situations, class survey. Oh, thank you very much for your answers. You are very active. Thank you. Okay, so acting out dialogues. Thank you very much. So good speaking activities model on real life situations where information is exchanged. In such activities, students have to use language to communicate. You can use speaking activities that develop communication skills such as group space, role plays, interviews, and discussions. And these kinds of activities will help students to develop the skills that they need in order to take part in real life conversations in English. And you can see the examples taken from the textbook Full Blast Plus for Ukraine. Speaking tasks are presented in every lesson. This is the last activity of the lesson. Before students start performing their activity, it's important to pay their attention to speech bubbles. They help them start speaking. The students are provided with the tips that aim to help them to complete the task. So please draw students' attention to these tips as well. You can choose the student that will help you to act out the dialogue in class. So you need to demonstrate your students how to do the activity. In this way, there will be less room for any kind of misunderstanding. Students love role plays. While they are playing roles, they are participating in an activity that is modeled on a real-life situation in which one person asks questions and another one gives a reply. So students are provided with the verbal prompts that facilitate the speaking task. Make sure that there are no any unfamiliar words, that they can like there are no unfamiliar words, and they can perform the activity in class. One student can pretend that he is a journalist, while the other can be the interviewee. They could be police officers, musicians, celebrities, and so on. And there is pair work activities at the end of the textbook. There are two students, student A and student B. And again, they start with a speech bubble, but that will help them when students work in pairs. Just go around the class and provide some help when it's necessary. At the end of any speaking activity, you can choose some students to act out a dialogue in front of the class. And you can pair or group students by different language proficiency levels. Pairing stronger students with less proficient ones allows peer teaching to take place. So less proficient students often feel more comfortable asking questions a classmate rather than a teacher. So the stronger students are challenged to explain the material, or you can try to pair or group students randomly. Try to form groups by what they are wearing, such as a particular color, or you can form groups according to numbers, or simply pointing at students to form groups based on different personalities and abilities. Or it can be elbow partner, yes, so they're like it's very simple way to form a pair. And there are many benefits of using pair and group work. However, they also have their challenges, especially when used with large classes. When all the students speak together, it gets too noisy and out of hand, and you can lose control of the classroom. So you need to separate the 2 points, a noisy classroom and an out of control classroom. When organizing such activities, noise is to be expected, right? A classroom full of students talking and interacting in English, even if it is noisy, it's okay. In this case, the noise is a result of active learning and not a lack of discipline. It is a good idea to agree on some kind of a signal, like a warning which tells students to keep the noise down. Losing control of the classroom is something different. Once again, walking around and monitoring the students as they are working in groups can help, as you can move over to the part of the classroom where the noise is coming from and calm the students down and focus them back on the task without disrupting the rest of the students who are working well in their groups. Then the students don't use English all of the time. It is natural for students to use their home language or to mix languages. You can encourage them to use English as much as they can, but also understand that there are times when students don't have enough vocabulary to express what they want to say. As you move around the classroom, make notes when students use their home language. And at the end of the activity, you can teach them English they need, or students can note down the words they don't know and use a dictionary to look up these words. And it's important to remember that even some English is better than none. And you need to think carefully about how to divide your class into groups or how to make up pairs, taking account of the goal to include all and encourage students to value each other. Ensure that all students have the opportunity to learn from each other and build their confidence in what they know. Some students will have their confidence to express their ideas and ask questions in a small group, but not in front of the class. You can use small groups where students can support each other. Within the groups, encourage all students to contribute, but at the same time, don't expect students to contribute equally to every discussion. You can provide support for students who are struggling, right? They may need more help with words or phrases, or more time to plan what they want to say. And let's have a look at some tips which will help you to organize pair and group work. So first of all, model the task. Many tasks fail because students don't completely understand what to do. Make sure that the instructions are simple and clear. And when it is possible, ask your students to demonstrate their activity. Then, set time limits for tasks. Setting time limits ensures that students use their time effectively. Give the students some time to prepare what they want to say and the words or phrases that they might need. Establish a signal to indicate time is up. For example, clap your hands or count down from 10 to 0. Then assign specific roles to group work. These roles can be leader and secretary. The leader makes sure that the task is carried out correctly and ensures that group, like the group members, speak English, and the secretary writes down the group's answers and reports on what the group discussed. In addition, it is crucial that all students do something productive during group work. There is a trap that when it is not a student's turn to speak, he will lose interest. To avoid this, make sure that each group activity has a focused task so that when students are not speaking, they have to actively listen. For example, if students discuss their favorite kinds of sport, have students make a note of sports each person likes, or find someone who likes the same sport. And monitor pairs and groups as they work. You can walk around and remind students to use English. You can give some feedback and more language support to students whose English is weaker. And respond to what students have said, and you can deal with the mistakes at the end of the activity. Okay, and now let's have a closer look at the textbook Full++ for Ukraine for the 6th graders in order to be ready to make your choice. So there are 8 modules. Each module consists of a cover page, 5 two-page lessons, and a roundup page. In this way, students are presented with different aspects of the same topic. The cover page is the first page of the unit. It gives students a photo to discuss. Then they are given 5 pictures to find in the module. It helps them to form a quick impression of what they will learn about. And again, we start with the discussion. The students are invited to share their ideas on some questions, which they can see on this cover page. The cover page is a page where we set learning goals. Students read about what they will learn in the module, and it helps to increase their motivation. So the cover page is a place where we set goals for our students to know what they will learn in this unit. And you can see the box in this module. You will learn how to make an offer, ask for permission, how to express possibility, and much more. You discuss this in the class, and maybe students will need more explanations with their vocabulary or grammar structures they will learn. So they have got the plan. They have got this clear picture what they will achieve at the end of the unit. The students have got collective understanding. They can collaborate and help each other. For example, the student was absent, and when he is back, his classmates can help him with a new topic. They can rely on each other. They see and check the goals systematically and will be able to reflect at the end of the unit. Then you have 5 subtopics marking from A to E. Each of them provides different activities for vocabulary, grammar, listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And at the end of each topic, there are roundup pages, which consist of exercises revising vocabulary and grammar. Students ask to work out their score and see how well they have done. There are also self-evaluation charts at the end of each roundup page, where students can check their progress. You can see "Now I Can" box with the same goals that we have set at the cover page. So students can discuss how well they have learned the topic. It can be done in pairs or rooms in Zoom when we are talking about distance learning. So here we promote learner autonomy. So the students are responsible for their learning, not you. They are in charge of it. And they choose their own way how to mark their achievements. They can put a tick or choose any other way they like. Speaking about vocabulary, we can say that it is recycling. Their words are repeated from unit to unit. In such a way, students can use them throughout all the topics. There are also learning tips at the end of the book, which students can use for better understanding how to work with the vocabulary. What concerns grammar, it is presented in tables with additional exercises for students to practice grammar structures. You can also ask your students to find examples of the particular structure in the dialogue or text in order to see grammar in context. And there is grammar reference section at the end of the book where the sixth graders can find useful tables, examples, and explanations of the structures that they have learned in each module. Students can develop their reading skills through reading material, such as texts or dialogues. And there are activities for checking reading comprehension, such as open-ended questions, gap filling, true-false exercises. And the students can listen to the texts as well. The topic of the listening task is always related to the topic of the lesson. There are also exercises to check the understanding. It can be filling the tables or true false or matching. Speaking can be done in groups or pairs where students are proposed to talk on a variety of real life topics. They can use the new vocabulary to talk about themselves and about their experience. They can exchange the information with each other, and it helps them to communicate more. And we know that writing is the most difficult skill for students to master, as they need to pay attention to spelling, grammar, purpose. It can be stressful for the sixth graders. So in this textbook, writing is done smoothly. The students are learned to write from smaller to bigger tasks. They can do writing as a home assignment or work in pairs and write collectively. Then, additionally, we have 4 culture pages for English-speaking countries and 2 culture pages for Ukraine. Culture pages introduce students to different cultures, and these pages are alternated with the song. You can use songs not only to motivate your students, but revise the new vocabulary and grammar structures. So students are not supposed to learn the unknown vocabulary they may see at the culture pages, because we pay attention to the culture rather than unfamiliar words. The same we can say about CLIL pages. Students explore curricular subjects such as science, maths, history, through the use of English as a means of communication and cooperation. And at the end of their culture and CLIL pages, there are ideas for project work. Projects promote students' creativity, critical thinking skills, research skills, thus helping them acquire 21st century skills. And at the back of the book, students can also find a section providing tips on project work. This step-by-step guide will help them successfully complete their project work. And if you want to choose Full Blast Plus for Ukraine, you are welcome to visit our website, publishing.linguist.ua, find the textbook and look through the pages. I want to remind you that the competition will last from the 27th of March till the 3rd of April. So this is the time when you need to make your choice. This is it from me. Again, I would like to remind you about your certificates. You will receive your certificate within 3 working days. Be patient. Don't forget to check your junk box. If you don't see your certificate in your email, you know what the next step is. Just contact me. And here's my contact information. You can see my phone number, my email, victoria.kolesnik@linguist.ua. Please subscribe to and follow us on our Facebook page. We usually inform you about our events there, and we post articles for teachers and some extra teaching material that you can use during your classes. And don't forget to visit our website, the place where you can find the textbooks and some additional material, linguist.ua. Okay. I see. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time to join this webinar. See you next month. Be safe and sound. Bye. Thank you.